Beloved Madridistas, welcome back to Madrid. Welcome back to the channel. Another very, very hard-fought match and hard-fought victory. It was difficult, but we pulled it off. That's 5 victories in a row now. This is yet another match that we finished with 10 men, which is really starting to become kind of a problem. That's two matches in a row. This is also the second match where we see very clearly that the team plays a very strong first half and then just kind of declines in terms of intensity and effectiveness in the second half. Again, another sort of pattern that we saw here. But there are a lot of takeaways to discuss from this match. Even before the ball started rolling, a lot of interesting takeaways just relating to Xavi and the lineup, which I think are really interesting. But anyway, thanks for joining me. As always, lots to discuss regarding this match. So let's get started. Madridistas, welcome back. Let me give you my thoughts on the match last night. A good start to our Champions League campaign. I think kind of encouraging the way that things developed. I think overall we can be pretty happy. I'll mention just before we start talking about the match, the Olympique Marseille fans are, man. I mean, I knew that they're kind of famous for clashing against PSG rivals in France, but man, these guys are rowdy. They caused quite a bit of havoc here in Madrid yesterday. There are certain parts of town that if you guys come to a European night in Madrid, there's certain parts of town you kind of want to avoid because sometimes the away fans get a little bit crazy and they tend to kind of get together in the same spots. But anyway, we got through that. Okay, let's talk about the lineup because so much of the story, again, with Xavi is the lineup, and his messaging is so powerful. Look, when we saw the lineup, I wasn't at all surprised to see Trent. I was talking about it sort of with friends before the match, and I was expecting Trent to start as right back after Carvajal had played the last match. That didn't surprise me. I was not surprised to see Mastantuono up front on the right. All of that was perfectly sort of understandable. The big surprise, obviously, was seeing Vini on the bench. I mean, this was a massive surprise and a massive statement. And Xavi is just, he's making it very, very clear how he operates. The message to the whole squad is very, very clear. You are going to give 100%, and you are going to play the system, or you will pay the price. The other day, Vini didn't play particularly well, and when he was subbed, he did it looked like he sort of made a face, of sort of disapproval. Xavi is not going to put up with any of this nonsense. I think the message is very clear. He counts on everybody in the squad. Everybody has to be 100% committed, run the entirety of the time, give 100%, or you simply will not play, and it doesn't matter what your name is. I think this message was very powerful, and I think very positive. I love Vini. I've been defending him incessantly. Those of you that have been following me since I started the channel, I love Vini, but this is a message that he needed to receive, and I think he can only improve from here mentally and just become more focused. So another incredible statement by Xavi. I love what this guy's doing. Okay, in terms of the match, look, the first half was, not dissimilar to the previous match in the sense that, we tend to start matches very, very well under Xavi with an enormous amount of intensity. This was very similar. I mean, the first sort of 30, 35 minutes was just, balls out football. We were playing with incredible intensity. Those first minutes, we really show so much intensity. A very, very high press, very effective press, stealing the ball very quickly. We're sort of strangling the opposition in their own half. Olympique Marseille had a very hard time the entire first half just getting the ball out of the back. So many times they just had to boot it out and sort of, kick up a 50-50 ball because we were just pressing so intensely in their half. This was basically, Xavi, I think, really wants to dominate matches from the very first minute. He wants to you can tell he wants to start matches in the lead. He wants to score first, and he wants to make a statement very, very early on. We were recovering the ball very, very high up. Our possession is also quite oppressive. We have a very high defensive line. This is a really interesting thing because it's a double-edged sword, but we have a very high defensive line. When you see us in possession, especially when you watch it live, you can see how high the center backs are. They're even beyond the middle of the pitch. Now, this is a very aggressive way of playing. It allows you to recover the ball very quickly and to smother the opposition. But of course, it's very dangerous if you lose the ball. You're very exposed if you lose the ball in those areas. So, but again, very vertical football, very quick combinations. I find the players are very alert. I find a lot of the kind of give and goes. It seems to me that the players are much more alert. They're very aware of where everybody else is, and I think the quickness of the passing is a sign of that. Look, in terms of opportunities, I mean, we just had chance after chance after chance. I mean, starting in the sort of second minute, you had the bicycle kick by Kylian. In the third minute, you had Trent getting injured, which is really unfortunate because he just hasn't started very well. He just hasn't been able to get into a rhythm since he arrived. This is exactly the last thing that Trent needed and was, really unfortunate to see. Now, after Trent was subbed for Carvajal, again, we kept creating chance after chance. Mastantuono hit the post in the 6th minute. Rodrigo, very good shot in the 9th minute. In the 10th minute, a great save, on a shot from Kylian. Another good shot by Mastantuono in the 13th minute. A beautiful run into the box by Mastantuono in the 14th minute. Some of these dribbles, one of these days, I was talking about it with my uncle, one of these days, one of these Mastantuono plays is going to work to the end because he's creating a lot of really interesting dribbles and plays and creates danger, but it's in the last minute, it just doesn't quite work. He doesn't quite finish, but one of these days he's going to. And I suspect it's going to be sort of the goal of the century because some of the stuff this kid is doing is really interesting. But again, we kept attacking. Another great opportunity in the 20th minute, a good shot by Kylian. And then the 0-1 came in the 22nd minute, and this was completely out of the blue because, I mean, at this point, we could have scored 4 goals already. We were completely dominating. But there you go. Olympique Marseille get one chance. They score just completely. It felt out of the blue. This was a terrible mistake by Arda Güler, who really didn't have his night. But on this occasion, he did lose a few balls, but this one really hurt because the moment he lost this ball, instead of chasing the player that stole the ball, he just sort of stood there. And it left the defenders exposed. This is a situation where Arda should have backtracked. The second he lost that ball, he should have started running like crazy to try to put pressure on the player from behind. He didn't do that, and this resulted in the goal. So very big mistake by Arda Güler. We have to be honest about this. After the goal, Real Madrid continued to push up. Marseille struggling to get the ball out of the back, as I mentioned. And then in the 27th minute, we had the penalty for the 1-1 converted by Kylian. Now, this was a very good play by Rodrigo, who, didn't have a very fortunate night. Tried to create, was a little bit unlucky. The final dribble wasn't quite working, but this worked very well. This was a beautiful move inside the box, a very clear penalty. There's no doubt about this. And Kylian put it in the back of the net. He's finishing with so much confidence these days. It's hard to see him sort of missing a penalty or anything these days. Okay, after the 1-1, Real Madrid continued to attack. Mastantuono had, another, beautiful run into the box on the right-hand side with some really interesting dribbles. I mean, one of these days, this is going to result in a crazy goal. I just have a feeling. We had another very good chance in the 41st minute, and then, in the final minute of the first half, a great shot by Mastantuono again. Look, we could have scored 5 in the, what you see on the scoreboard here is very misleading. We had a very good first half. We should have put the match away in that first half, but we didn't. The second half was, I think, but we're starting to see a bit of a pattern here that I think Xavi demands so much energy in the first half that by the time the players sort of get into the last 30 minutes, you start to feel the sort of physical side of things because I think he does demand quite a bit of them. In the second half, we started trying to do the same thing, but the energy level started to fizzle out, I think, quite visibly. Kylian hit the crossbar in the 51st minute. That could have put us at ease. In the 55th minute, there was a possible penalty on Kylian. The penalty that we eventually got, I don't believe was a penalty, but I do think that in the 55th minute, there was a penalty that was quite clear that wasn't called. So, if anybody sort of tries to give you crap about the penalty we were awarded, I think this is a penalty that we should have been awarded, but weren't. Now, in the sort of 50-plus minute of the match, you started to feel that we needed to make changes. You started to feel, okay, we need fresh legs here because things are starting to look slower. The players were starting to get to those challenges just a millisecond later than they were in the first half. You could feel the physical aspect of the game kind of catching up with them. Now, I would have made the changes maybe a few minutes earlier, but Xavi started pretty well. In the 63rd minute, Mastantuono and Rodrigo came off, gave way to Ibrahim and Vini. Now, in the 70th minute, we had the red card for Carvajal. And this is, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, look, it is a little bit harsh because it doesn't look like Carvajal does much, but it's a red card. You know that refs are going to give you a red card for this kind of thing. These are the kind of traps that you can't fall for. I cannot believe that a player of Carvajal's experience would fall for this. You know that they're going to talk shit. I mean, this Argentinian goalkeeper, and the Argentinians are very good at this, at provoking players and sort of getting under people's skin. Carvajal should know better than to fall for this. So I think it was a silly trap. He didn't do much. I think maybe the red was a little bit harsh because it was obviously theatrics on the part of the goalkeeper. But again, did he slightly lean his head forward? Yes. Are they going to call that every time? Yes. So I think this was just very poor judgment on the part of Carvajal. And, this is sort of, back-to-back matches where Carvajal is sort of getting caught out, a handball in the previous one, and now this. So he needs to get his head on straight because this is not the Carvajal that we expect. Okay, in the 73rd minute, Arda came off and Asensio came in. Perfectly understandable. Arda was not having his night, and we needed fresh defending legs going into the final minutes of the match. Now, in the last tranche of the match, you're basically in a situation where, you're 1-1, you want to win the match, but you're playing with 10 men. You have to be very careful. So for the last sort of tranche of the match, we were playing very much holding on and trying to see if we could muster isolated chances and hope that our individual skill could make a difference. And that's sort of what happened. In the 79th minute, we were awarded the controversial penalty. I will admit to you that I didn't think it was a penalty. I didn't really see, at first I didn't know what they were calling. Are they calling the challenge, the sort of slide tackle, the challenge, or are they calling a handball? They seemed to call a handball. The player looked like he was just breaking his fall. I think it's harsh. I wouldn't have called it. I don't think it was a penalty. So, we have to be honest about this. On the other hand, like I say, I think there was one in the 55th minute that they should have called. So anyway, that controversy for whoever wants it. And then in the final stretches of the match, we just had to hold on. Okay, this is 10 men. You're sort of playing with a very slim lead, and you're just holding on for dear life. And we did that very well. In terms of broad takeaways for the match, I think some things we can sort of say with a bit of confidence. Okay, number one, I think we can all agree that Xavi is absolutely uncompromising as a manager. This guy's not going to negotiate. He's not going to take any shit, and he's not going to bend. Okay, he knows the style of football he wants to play. He demands that everybody plays it. He's going to use the entirety of the squad, and that is that. And I think that message at this point is categorically clear. This is a manager with balls and ideas, and you better fall in line or you won't play. Number two. Xavi's style of football is very front-end loaded, and this is something we need to be aware of. Now, I know that we're not in peak physical condition yet, and it takes a while to get there, and it will make a difference. But right now, we're only able to sustain Xavi ball for about 60 minutes. We're not able to play it for longer than that. The style of play is very front-end loaded, and I think we have to be a little bit careful with that because we can get away with it now, but I think we have to be very careful with sort of falling off in the second half the way we are. It's slightly dangerous. So another observation I would say is that we're very front-end loaded. I think that's something we need to address. Number three, this team defends very well. I think this team defends very well. I think this team defends as a block much better than we did last year. We're stealing the ball very, very high. We're recovering the ball in great positions. Very rarely do we have to settle into a low block. When settling into a low block means that you didn't have any success stealing the ball further up or in the middle of the pitch. And so you have to settle into that defensive block. Now, we don't have to do that very often these days because the press is so effective and we're managing to get the ball before the rivals get that close to Courtois. So I think we have to acknowledge this. I think this is a team that's defending much better as a block and as a team. Number four, we're creating many more chances as a collective. If you notice that the type of chances that we're creating this year are based much more on collective play and a lot less on individual play. Last year, we relied very, very heavily on sort of somebody pulling a rabbit out of their ass and in sort of at some point, in the last 10 minutes. That is not the case this year. The chances that we're creating are very much team and collective play driven. Because even in days where Vini's not having his day, or Brahim's not having his day, or Rodrigo's not having his day, we still look dangerous. Even when individual players don't look like they're having a particularly good day, we still look very dangerous because as a team, we're creating a lot of good chances that involve many players with a lot of players up in that final third. So I think our collective play is very good, and it's one of the reasons we're creating so many chances, like I say, even if individual players are not on their game. Okay, number 5. When we're in possession, that defensive high line that I just described, where your center backs are almost at the middle of the pitch, even a little bit further up, that's very dangerous. Okay, we're going to have to be very careful with this because you can do it against shitty teams, but it's very dangerous against good teams because the risk of losing a ball when your defensive line is that far up, and you make one mistake. Look at the first goal with Arda Güler, that he lost one ball. And look how exposed we were. So we need to be very careful in possession with this very high defensive line. It's an very aggressive style of play tactically, but we just need to be aware that it brings a lot of fruits, but it is a double-edged sword, and it's something that I think we're going to have to be aware of going forward because against very good teams, this could be very dangerous. Okay, number 6. We need to stop making stupid mistakes. Okay, these stupid handballs and these red cards, some legit, some not, but we need to be more careful with this. Okay, we're making a lot of stupid mistakes behaviorally, I think in terms of concentration, and these things ultimately affect you. This is the second match in a row where we end up with 10 men. Okay, the previous one, I admit, should not have been the case, but still, we need to be extra careful, and we cannot continue to finish games with 10 men. We have to be very careful with stupid, avoidable mistakes that have more to do with concentration than anything else. Okay, takeaway number 7. This is a really resilient squad. I mean, I think, this is a very resilient squad. This is a team, you punch them in the mouth because, we have gotten punched in the last couple of matches unexpectedly, but we react very well to adversity. It's a team that doesn't crumble. We're able to hold on to slender leads. We're able to score underhanded goals. We're able to score with 10 men. It's a team that certainly knows what to do when we play with 10 men. You can tell that tactically it's a team that's very well prepared for any situation. They look very well trained because when we go to 10 men, we always seem to know exactly what we need to do, and we seem to execute it very well. So I would say this is a very resilient squad, and I think it's something very, very positive. Look, on the whole, I like what I see. There are some things we need to correct, like I've just mentioned, but I do like what I see. I like Xavi's attitude. I like the intensity of our play. I like how vertical and offensive we are as a team. And I think we can just get better from here. So I'm personally very encouraged. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Okay, players, we can do this very quickly. Courtois, probably give him a 7. I think he made very, very valuable saves. It wasn't as sort of spectacular as some Champions League finals against Liverpool, things like that, but he did have 3 or 4 very, very good saves. I think Courtois is always very solid. Militao was a little bit sloppier today. I think he was very good the other day, and I gave him a lot of praise. He does look quicker. He looks sharper. But he just was a little bit sloppier in possession last night, I think, than he was in the previous match. So Militao, I think, had a sort of so-so match. Trent, I'm not even going to judge because he was on there for 3 minutes, so I can only just pray the guy recovers. Okay, Huijsen, I thought played well, very consistent match, good in the air. Didn't make too many mistakes. Tried a few interesting passes, sort of deep. I think he was in the right place at the right time. Played a very solid match. No glaring mistakes. I think overall a pretty solid performance by Huijsen. Okay, Carreras was my man of the match. Carreras completely dominated the left side of the pitch. If I had to score him from 1 to 10, I'd give him a 9. He was spectacular. This guy is so quick. He's so speedy. He's always where he needs to be. He recovers like lightning fast. He contributes to every single attack. This guy does not save any energy. He wants to be involved in every attack, and the second it breaks down, he sprints back like nobody's business. This is a very, very solid player. I think yesterday showed us his repertoire defensively and offensively. The more this kid plays, the more I like him. Carreras was a fantastic purchase. I'm very, very happy that he came. Okay, Tchouaméni, another fantastic match. I'd give him an 8 if I had to grade him. another phenomenal performance in that pivot position. He's just doing everything right. He's just such a solid presence in the middle of the pitch, good in the air, good in challenges. His timing's very good. His placement on the pitch is very good. I think Tchouaméni is going through a phenomenal moment. I think he had another exceptional night. Okay, Fede, Fede had a more quiet evening. I'd maybe give him a 6 or something like that. Look, I've mentioned before that Fede is playing he's doing more dirty work this year. He's not contributing to the attack as much because he's been told not to. So if you don't see Fede contributing as much in attack, because he used to play on that right wing and come up all the time, so he was an integral part of the attack. Less so this year. I think this year he has more defensive duties, and therefore we see him a little bit less. He's less prominent in our play. I think yesterday he had sort of okay match, nothing spectacular. It's unusual for me to say that because Fede is usually such a consistent player. But I think yesterday he had a sort of okay match, nothing to write home about, which is unusual. But again, Fede is just playing a different function this year, which is why we're not seeing as much of him. So I do forgive some of that. Okay, Arda Güler, look, he's having a phenomenal year, and obviously Xavi loves him, is giving him so many minutes, but I just think he didn't have his night. Okay, he was very active in terms of participating, but just very sloppy with the ball. He had a few ball losses that are just unforgivable. The 0-1 was just, that's unforgivable. Not just losing the ball, but your reaction to the loss. The second you lose that ball, you need to start running your ass off, and he didn't. So I think Arda had not just that one, but a few other, really dangerous ball losses. He plays in a very precarious position, just in front of that defense, and you cannot lose the ball there. Arda, I think, had not a great match this time around. Wonderful player, having a wonderful season. Xavi loves him, but it was not his night. Okay, Mastantuono, I think I'll give him a lot of credit for his attitude. Because he just tries over and over and over. He's a very hungry, aggressive player. He always wants to make something happen. But it's that final dribble, that final pass, that final shot that's just not there. I think, hopefully it will come because he is creative and aggressive and he plays on the front foot. And all of this is wonderful, but he just needs to finish the plays. And that hasn't come quite yet. So I think Mastantuono had a really solid match, but we just need his precision to improve in that final third. Hopefully that'll be the case. Okay, Rodrigo, I thought was sort of okay. It just wasn't really working, right? He got the penalty, which was very valuable, but it wasn't really working. He tried a lot of one-on-ones, tried to sort of destabilize on that left-hand side, but it just, more often than not, he was losing the one-on-ones, the 1v2s. So it wasn't really Rodrigo's night. Tried, nothing particularly wrong, but just wasn't particularly fortunate in that last dribble. Okay, Kylian, I thought was great. I thought Kylian always looked threatening. Scored the 2 penalties, but even beyond that, I think he just, he wasn't maybe as good as in the previous match. He was just crazy good. I think in this match he participated a little bit less than in the prior match, but he always looks so dangerous. Just that speed. He now looks, every time he touches the ball, he just looks so threatening. He's just so quick to get to the ball. He seems to get to every ball first. I think Kylian had another fantastic performance, and I think we're looking at sort of peak Mbappe right now. Okay, in terms of the subs, I have to talk about Carvajal. I don't think he had a very, very good match. Carvajal, it's great to see him back. He's getting his speed back, but I just think mentally, the fine-tuning isn't there. He needs to get that back. But I think Carvajal, he just didn't have his night. Wonderful to see him back, but just not really his night. In terms of the subs, look, Vini couldn't quite change the game the way we had hoped. Brahim, I think sometimes is a little bit overly individualistic, and I think that costs us in terms of ball losses. Sometimes I think Brahim was sort of okay, but didn't manage to turn the game around either. Asensio was sort of okay, doing grunt work in the back, so nothing really to mention there. A final mention on the refs, because I've had Barca supporter friends of mine send me texts like, what was that penalty call last night? Isn't this scandalous? I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Okay, last night the refs made mistakes, but they're not intentional, and you can tell. And sometimes the mistake goes your way, it goes against you or for you, but they look like human errors. It doesn't feel like there's an agenda. You cannot compare what happened last night to the shit that happens to us week in, week out in Spain. It's just ridiculous. Because like I say, they gave us a penalty that we shouldn't have received, but on the other hand, there was one that they should have called that they didn't. So quite frankly, I think the refs last night were just shitty. I don't think that they were skewed in any way. I think they were just, not particularly good. But anyway, listen, those are my thoughts. I think we're off to a good start. I like what I see. I think we're going to continue to improve. And we're putting up very well with a lot of hardship, a lot of bad calls, a lot of difficult situations against the ropes, but we're reacting very well. We look very resilient. So I like what I see. But anyway, listen, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you guys think. So let me know in the comment section. But thanks for joining me. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, a la Madrid.